And while this thing, I gotta press that start button there. And we're online now.
Yes, I see us live on Facebook at least.
Because the world meets no one halfway. In the words of Lincoln Hawk. So welcome everyone to this week's version of Monday on Monday on the ODP channel. What we do here is we discover work around life. So what does that mean is we put life front and center, and then we're looking for ways to create income around the life that we want to live. And where a lot of people talk about this is like going off to live in Bali and screw the 9 to 5. That's not the context we're talking about. We're talking about like it's unique to everybody. And so if you're a stay-at-home mom or your family doing this, doing that, you got kids, no kids, whatever it is, it's your life, and you have to pursue it with full vigor. We live in a great place to do it. And on this day, especially Memorial Day, we all need to do our part to remember those who lost their lives in the active duty to protect our freedoms. It's a day like today that I always think about is, especially today. It's a day off. It's a vacation for the corporate world, right? This is the day though that I want to get up and work even harder, because how many people lost their lives to create this opportunity for us to go do something amazing, go work in a team. And that's what we're doing, is we're working in teams. We're not working by ourselves. And that's the purpose of Monday on Monday, is so you can get a look into what our team dynamics are week to week as we go start 20 companies. And so with that, let's get this rolling. Start it off like we like to. Christy, what's the good word?
So my good word for this week, besides veteran, because I thought about making my word veteran, but since you did such a great job of introing that, my second word is also perseverance. I feel like what our team is going through right now is, trying to wrap our minds around not only content that we're going to share with the world and concepts, but also operationalizing all of that information too, and making it so we can be as efficient and as consistent as we can for not only our listeners, but for us to function internally. And so I think right now it's just a time of perseverance for our team, because we just have to stay focused on one goal at a time and knock those out and be able to check those things off our list per se, and keep moving mountains. That's definitely the goal right now.
Love it. All right. So my word of the day is written across my face.
Hops.
Or across my head. Hops. Hops is the word of the day. This actually is a new hat I got from my friends over at Kansas Hop Company. I was speaking slowly because I was trying to do two things at once, which I cannot do very well, is operate technology and talk at the same time. But Kansas Hop Company, they're hop farm out in Kansas. They serve in the Midwest with the best hops, and they also have the best swag. So I got this hat, got the shirt.
Jealous.
Yes, I'm all about the Kansas Hop Company today. And
please share some swag with me so I can represent.
Yes, I think they ran out of these quickly. Actually,
I'm sure they did. They're really cool looking. I'm not gonna lie.
Love it. And one of the main reasons they look so good is because our main man Steven Wilson over at Wills Design created their pattern, created their logo and their brand. So a little throwback to our team. Steven Wilson does a lot of our branding for the ODP, does all our branding for the Broxway side of things.
Awesome.
So good stuff. It's going to be a beautiful day out here in Cincinnati. What's it like in Illinois?
Same. It's nice and warm and sunny, and hopefully no spots of showers, but we'll take it. I'm just hoping for the farmers around me. I'm definitely surrounded by farm ground. Get some dry weather, because we need to get the crops in. There's no doubt about that. So
for sure. Well, what do we need to do? We need to keep moving our ball forward, and perseverance is what we need a lot of right now, because
and hops.
Hops. At the end of the day, it's hops. we've got a lot going on, and we've had some big milestones. Last week, one of our main goals was to decide the launch date for the podcast.
Yes.
And we have picked June 8th. We are going to be launching the podcast. It's going to be on all the directories in which you know and love, whether it's your Apple directory, your Spotify, Google. And we'll be shooting out a lot more information over the next 2 weeks to tell you what we'd like you to do to make sure we go to the top of the list. And it'll be a download, listen, and review. But June 8th is the big day, and that's exciting.
Yes. And are you going to share at all why we picked June 8th? Or are you going to save that for later?
For those of you know me, no, I've got something up my sleeve. We've got a little hidden hack we're using on June 8th, and we'll tell you more later on that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be excellent for numerous reasons because we're going to use this hack. And it's also going to be an example of like, we're not going to spend months and months as a team putting together our plan to have the perfect day to launch. Rather, we decided last week, like, let's just go in 2 weeks. Let's get together. Let's figure out exactly how we're going to announce this to the world, the different social media posts, the landing page, all these different elements, stack it all up, get it done, and move on.
Yep.
And start operating.
We're excited, but also nervous. I'm nervous.
Both you and Phoenix are like, can we listen to the episodes first?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
Our main man Josh down at Revision Sound down in Texas, who we found through Upwork in a different project, has been busy putting those together on the post-production side. So we do have the trailer up on the website ondemandpaul.com. Listen to that. You'll get a feel for what we're going to be talking about and the journey that we're on. And part of that journey, we need to do a lot of planning. And so I think one of our other big milestones is the Miro board.
Yes.
That we put together last week.
Yep. So our goal with the Miro board, I use Miro. It used to be called Real Time Board, to help me when I'm trying to brainstorm, especially with on-demand digital brainstorming, because, you know, a lot of times, I don't know about you, Paul, but I use sticky notes or I use 3x5 cards to like brainstorm. So I take my different concepts, I get them out on my paper, and then I can reorganize and manipulate those ideas until they start to come together to make a system or make sense. And Miro does a really good job of that because it allows for that online brainstorming. And I've been playing around with their app this weekend too. So if I do it on my sticky notes like I normally do, because I got my little sticky note machine over here that pass them up for me, I can digitize them too that way. And I did not, I've never tried that before. I didn't do that with this particular case, but I'm going to share my screen here and show you guys how we go about doing that. But I'm getting it set up first.
And this is going to be helpful for the Fueled community, but as well for those of you that work in my co-working space that walk by my office and see mounds and mounds of 3x5 cards. Because I'm always like, what would I write down one day? Because I've just got cards everywhere. I'm looking forward to putting this technology to use.
Yes. So Paul, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. So what Miro allows people to do, like I said, is to brainstorm online, and you can, and in fact, because I know Paul is such a 3x5 person, I actually found some icons that literally look like 3x5 cards, but I didn't use them on this particular board. So what I typically start doing is I typically start with like a legend. So like I think through what have I gotta organize. And who all is involved. So sometimes people are different colors, sometimes concepts, which in this particular case is what drives our different colors. But you have a lot of possibilities, and down in the lower right corner of my screen, you can see where the content is here. And so I just wanted to show a little bit. So first, looking at what is our podcast launch calendar looking like. And so if you can see, it's all pushed up front because we're going to do this in the next couple of days. And so we kind of have that laid out there. And if you notice, our new operational flow is a 30, 60, 90, but we've separated out to align with our new process, Paul's Brock's Way process, which is I'm blank right now on it. It's trigger, start.
Trigger, start, do, review, and go.
Yes, thanks, Paul. God, I totally blanked because I have other words in front of me. So I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm the one that says them the most. So within the next 7 days, we are going to call that Go Yesterday. If something needs to be done in the next 7 days. If we need it to be done in the next 30 days, we call that a Go Now. And then the next 60 days is going to be Go Soon. And if it's to be completed within 90 days, which notice there's not a 90-day option here because the podcast launch is going to be done in the next 30, actually the next 15. But the go in 90 days is go someday. And then what's our last one?
Go sometime, someday.
Sometime.
And this is, part of the language here in customer feedback is key. And like side conversation to one of our email strings amongst the team, it's like one thing I always try to push myself to think about, and I think everybody should think about is when you're in a team, the other team members are your customers, right? So this isn't the first round of me throwing out words and you're like, dude, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
or it doesn't have a good flow sometimes.
Right. And then fluent is like, okay, well, that doesn't work for the rest of the team. That doesn't work for the customer. So we'll get this out there, and it's also gonna be good to hear from our other clients that we're starting to work with, which are already starting to come in, just so everybody knows, like, this is when you just get up and go now, it's amazing what can happen when you start having conversations about whatever business you're going into, because if you're solving a problem that people need solved, they will start coming to you.
Absolutely. And it's been really cool because even though, we're only 5 or 10 steps into our own processes, we've already got clients coming to us. And so, my goal is to just stay like 2 or 3 steps ahead of them in terms of modeling these processes and making sure we're going. But as you can see, we are trying to provide as much of a lifetime update into our listeners as possible, because as you can see, like all of these ideas that we have on here right now aren't fully fleshed out, but yet it's definitely something that's working. So the next thing we did as a team is we looked at what are other key areas where we're going to set some key metrics. So our communication strategy, our target market research, and our content creation, I realized it was really hard for me to split those all out. So what I did instead is I broke it down into a really large board, so it goes all the way down, where we first start with our brand guidelines, which those, luckily, thanks to Stephen Wilson at Wilson Design, are already created. So we're lucky that we have that completed. And so you'll notice on these orange cards, they link to our actual documents. If I were to scroll in, we could go there, but we aren't. The next big focus for us is voice guidelines and target market research, including hashtag libraries. And why are hashtag libraries important to us? Because we're a media company. So we have to know what hashtags are trending and how that works. But if you look, this is towards the end of June. And so you're thinking, well, how are you launching your podcast if you don't have everything done yet? We're just rolling with it. We're doing the best we can, right? And I think that's really important to show that, we are taking the world by storm. We're going, as quickly as we can. And some of that is being defined along the way. And so I think it's a really good way to show how quickly we're moving. And even though, there's no waiting around, we need to capitalize, right? So we're making moves.
Did we just circle back to Lincoln Hawk and the world meets no one halfway?
That's right.
Just go over the top.
All the way. We're going
Over the top.
I wish I had a hat I could turn around backwards.
I know I should
put my arm up.
Like a machine.
Yes.
Just, when I do that, I feel like a truck.
Yes.
But Lincoln didn't have these headphones on. So, God, if you haven't watched that movie, please go find Lincoln Hawk somewhere on one of your on-demand services.
Yes, absolutely.
Over the Top is the actual name of the movie. So with that, what's our next milestones for this upcoming week?
Sure thing. So our next milestones, now I got to find where my documents back at, but one of them is kind of finalizing that workflow that we talked about last week on Monday.com. And the reason why we are working towards finalizing that still is because, we're constantly tweaking it. And so the big focus this week is really finishing the digital content workflow to have integrations and automations built in with the tools we're using, including Miro. And then automations, meaning as soon as one of us clicks go, the next team member is notified and it shifts to their board so that they can do or review whatever we need completed from them. So that's our big focus, is integrations and automations of that next week. Let's see what else. Oh, we're still working to hire some on-demand talent. So our big focus is the UX designer and then the Elementor developer. And I can share that we're lucky in the way, well, I don't know if we're lucky. Chase and I were really prescribed in the way to how we posted that job on Upwork. So we made it very clear that we wanted a UX designer that ideally would have Elementor experience. So we might end up finding somebody that can do both, because we've had a couple people with skill sets in both. And so potentially we could hire a single ODT. So we've got to dig into those proposals this week and make some decisions.
And it's a big engagement that we're talking about because of the longevity of that relationship, where, ODT, this is a good example of range. I found people within minutes, hired them, they delivered, boom, like it was over, and I keep them in the Rolodex, the digital Rolodex. But yeah, we're still looking out there. I think one important note before we close up today is something that I harp on all the time is the best technology that you can use is pen and paper. Like this is what we're going to be taking, thanks to Miro, to a digital framework to share with the team. But your limitation should only ever be your imagination. And so there's people out there that can take your chicken scratch, my chicken scratch, and put it to an operational standpoint. So you can create income on demand, whether it's a side hustle, it's a full-time deal. And that's what we're doing here. Yep. Is we're going to discover how to do that as a team, discover work around life. And so with that, I wish everybody happy Memorial Day, a safe Memorial Day. Don't forget to think about all the fallen soldiers that have given up their life for our freedoms and for our country. In the meantime, shuffle well.